They can attempt to. They're going to have to do some certain things, though. First things first.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
What they're going to have to do is attempt to double team Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins did a okay job of it. You know, the Bucs tried a couple weeks ago to guard him one-on-one, and we seen what happened. So you're going to have to double team that guy. Secondly, you're going to have to attempt to double team 87. He's been Mahomes' scapegoat. When Mahomes gets in trouble, he looks for 87. Best tight end in the league. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Okay. Third, what they're going to have to do is get back to what they did for 55 out of the last 56 games. Last week, they didn't do a great job of it. But the 55 before that, they stopped the run. The Chiefs don't do a great job running the ball. All the great things they do on offense, running the ball is not one of them. So the Saints have to stop the run. Lastly, do not blitz Patrick Mahomes. He wants you to blitz him. The Saints are excellent at getting to the quarterback with 4. You see what happened last week when the Dolphins got after him a little bit, got him a little rattled, and he kind of depended on all the circus throws and things of that nature. What they have to do is not do what they did last week by losing contain, because he'll kill you. He's not just going to take off running. He's going to kill you. So they have to keep him in the pocket. And believe it or not, this is going to sound crazy, make Mahomes throw from the pocket. Don't let him get on the move. They're going to have to get at him with the front 4.
So this is a really interesting matchup when the Chiefs' offense is against the Saints' defense. I'm not that – if Breeze isn't going to play, I'm not that entirely interested about how is the Chiefs' defense going to slow down the Saints' offense, because if they were to play again in the Super Bowl, it's going to be a totally different offense with Taysom versus Drew Brees. But the matchup of when the Chiefs have the ball, that could be what you see in the Super Bowl. And here's my concern. I want to throw it back to you, Gerald. The Chiefs' best tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, has been out a while. He's still not back. There are 2 other tackles, their starting tackles in place of Schwartz, Eric Fisher and Mike Rimmers, have not practiced this week. They could be without their top 3 tackles against this Saints defense. The only way this game ends disastrously for Kansas City, and before I even say this, is if something were to happen to Patrick Mahomes. I feel like the Chiefs' offense, when you're talking about, doubling Tyreek, that's to take away the deep shot. I wonder if the Chiefs remove deep shots from their offense and almost run a Pittsburgh Steelers style dink and dunk, 2 seconds or less, get the ball out, and because to try to protect Mahomes if that offensive line's banged up. If that is what the Chiefs' approach is, Gerald, as a defensive player, how do you counter it? As a defensive lineman, how do you counter it if they're trying to get the ball out 1-2 out every time?
Well, for 9 years of my career, I had to play against Drew Brees. Drew Brees is about 4'6", and he doesn't give anybody a chance to get to him. So as a D lineman, when you have a quarterback who's getting the ball out that fast, hands up. You got to get your hands up. They're going to have to disrupt him by the guys up the middle. They're going to have to get a push, because if Mahomes tries to step up and drop quick step, the guys in the middle have to get their hands up. They're the ones that's going to have to get the push to let those guys on the end get home.
Gerald, I want to show you graphics of how much the Chiefs have been down this year. I talked to Nick earlier before the show. I was like, you know what? They remind me of the Warriors, the KD Warriors, when they would just kind of loaf around and all right, let's start playing. They've been down a few games here. And I think with Tyreek Hill's little hamstring thing, he says it isn't a hamstring pull, but at the same time, we saw him grabbing it. Do you think that there's a lack of urgency to this team that could eventually rear its head, or are they just so good this graphic doesn't matter at all?
Well, I believe that they are that good. I mean, last week Mahomes threw 3 picks and still almost threw for 400 yards. I mean, they are that good, but getting into December football and into the playoffs, they can't let this happen, because what happened last year in the playoffs, we had never seen nothing like that before. But I don't believe we'll see anything like that again, where you could just keep getting down in the playoffs and keep fighting your way back. These teams are not going to keep letting them do that. So they have to come out with a sense of urgency and get started early.
So that to me, graphic that you just showed, Wilds, is why I'm conflicted in this game. Because if you were to have expanded that graphic to include the postseason run, you would have seen deficits of 24, 10, and 10, which means my back-of-the-napkin math says in the last 16 games the Chiefs have played, they have trailed by double digits 7 times. But they're 6-1 in those 7 games. They've trailed by double digits. And in fact, and I want to show this graphic, the Chiefs are obviously on an unbelievable run. And as a lifelong Kansas City and Chiefs fan, I want to see how high up this chart they can go. If they were to win the rest of the way and win the Super Bowl this year, they all of a sudden are a game behind Miami for the greatest stretch with only 1 loss in the history of football. And those are some of the greatest teams in the history of football they're already on there with. On the other hand, I think a loss could be good for them because I agree with Gerald 1,000%. Playing just this belief, okay, we're down 10, now we're going to start playing, that can get you beat. And it didn't get them beat last year in the playoff run, but it certainly could have. And this year against Miami, I mean, it felt like they didn't come out ready to play, got down 10-0, then immediately scored 30 straight, but then took their foot off the gas again, and all of a sudden, they had to convert a 4th down to win that game. So, like, I do wonder, Gerald, in your opinion, for the Chiefs, if they're going to be the 1 seed either way, is there such a thing as a loss being good for them? Or is that just like a media thing, and as a player, it could never be good for you?
Oh, a loss can be good, but in this sense, I don't think it is. I think they need to go into the playoffs with some momentum. It's December football, and this is when you play your best football. And we've seen numerous times where a team, not that's like Kansas City, but a team can go into the playoffs with a lot of momentum, and it carries them all the way. Look at the Tennessee Titans last year. They went into the playoffs with momentum, and it carried them all the way to AFC Championship. You don't want to lose games like this because even though they are a championship team, you want to start building your momentum going into the playoffs and let it carry. Because if you don't, you can be up and down going into the playoffs and have a down game in the playoffs, and you only get one of those. You have one of those down games, and that can be it. So you want to start building momentum now, especially against a potential Super Bowl opponent.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.